This is Nekesa with self-reflection. Last week, we began our topic on indicators or signs of a lack of self-acceptance. Today, we are still continuing with the same discussion. When you lack an acceptance of who you are, then you also have very low emotional intelligence. Remember, emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, connect, and express our emotions appropriately in connection with others. When you don't fully understand and own up to your emotions, you tend to misread your emotions. And chances are, you chronically misread other people's emotions. If you've grown up not being loved, I talked about unconditional positive regard. For those of you who've grown up in environments where there was just conditional positive regard, you are loved on condition. When people come around you, it's say that they want something from you. Sometimes you may not really develop your emotional intelligence. And I've seen this happen again and again. Have you ever seen people who misunderstand people's actions or they misread? Let's say it's your birthday and one of your colleagues, probably you're female, and a male colleague who is empathic, full of love, has healthy emotions, decides to surprise you with a birthday cake. You might misread that because you yourself, you may tend, because maybe you're drawn to that person, maybe you are attracted, you may tend to imagine that they are also feeling the same way, when it could just be a colleague trying to, just celebrate your birthday and make you happy. So when you don't have self-acceptance, you tend so many times to misread people. When you are not aware of your emotions, chances are you will also not be aware of other people's emotions. I've also seen examples, even in churches, where people imagine that people are interested in them. Maybe they love them. They imagine that people are sexually drawn to them. Yet it is their own deep inner struggle. And also these things of, I feel like this. It's called perception. Sometimes we project our feelings. What we feel, we imagine that other people are feeling the same when it is not true. This many times happens when we are not aware and we've not really accepted who we are. And the moment you become aware of who you are, your strengths and your weaknesses, you must come to that place of accepting your strength and your weaknesses. In that way, you can also be able to accept other people's strengths and weaknesses. You will not be quick to judge people or to make wrong judgments that are not true. When you also lack self-acceptance, you tend to succumb to the inner voice. The inner voice is what we call the inner critic. And it's normally something in the subconscious. It normally takes over when you grew up in an environment where people were too critical. Probably your caregivers kept, whenever you did a small mistake, they would put you down, or they would overly criticize you, judge you, or even punish you. So you grew up with some elements of fear. You desire to be a perfectionist, so that when you make a mistake, you feel very guilty. You feel condemned. You really judge yourself to a point that you can even self-destruct, In life, when you make a mistake, mistakes should be a learning experiences. They were never meant to be something to destroy you. But people who have that self-critic tend to destroy themselves with their mistakes. Some even end up killing themselves because it is something that has been put in them. They have low self-esteem, they struggle. So they were taught that in order to be accepted and to be loved, they must be perfect. That is a sign that you lack self-acceptance. Remember, self-judgment becomes a form of lid or cover, when you are in a jar or when you're somewhere deep. You can use self-judgment to hide inside there so that you don't come up, because you're so used to negativity, being criticized, and since you've developed fear, you become so scared of coming up to attempt anything because you imagine that everybody will be against you, the criticism. And so you stop focusing on the good things, on what kind of person you are. If you are a kind-hearted person, for example, and probably you've been there assisting everybody, whenever you hear there's trouble, you're kind, you empathize with people, and then people hurt you so much. Some even take advantage of you. You might end up focusing on the pain that people have caused you instead of seeing that what you have is inner beauty and a strength. So all you have to do is to accept yourself and know that the fact that some people have taken advantage of you does not mean that your qualities of kindness, empathy are a sign of weaknesses. Those are beautiful attributes, and they are a sign of strength and not weaknesses. Self-acceptance is key, because the amount of happiness in life is largely dependent on how much we know ourselves and have accepted who we are. I hope I've been a blessing. And the homework I'm going to leave you with is this. Please take a piece of paper and pen and jot this question down. How do you feel around people who have solid character? How do you feel around people who have solid character? Remember, once you self-accept, you're able to build character because you know your weaknesses, you know your strengths, and there you can begin character development. Goodbye until then. See you.